We hope you know you can always find us on your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station, but today you can find us at the Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. We are helping to promote Child Abuse Awareness Month and all the good things happening at this organization that's making a real difference in the lives of children that need their services, and they need your help. So if you feel compelled to give, do that by texting SuperTalk 2024 to 41444 today. But we're continuing to learn more about this organization with Miss Sally Williams. No relation to Sally Kate.
No, unfortunately not.
She's the Chief Program Officer of the Children's Advocacy Center of Mississippi, which works really hand in hand with Sally Kate Winters. And every time I come here, Sally, I'm so encouraged and inspired by how much, I guess, partnership there is. Not a lot of overlapping. Everybody knows what their strengths are, but then they are all willing to come together for, the greater good of the child. So remind us what the Children's Advocacy Centers, I guess, of Mississippi does.
Sure. You nailed it on the head when you're talking about we partner with them. There are 11 child advocacy centers across the state. There are 3 others that are in development right now that are hoping to get their doors open this year. But what we do at the Children's Advocacy Centers of Mississippi is we're that network of child advocacy centers. We offer technical support, support in general to all the CACs, as well as training for the CACs. So when you're talking about different disciplines in CACs, such as forensic interviewers, family advocates, mental health therapists, that kind of thing, we are offering training for all those individuals for the specialized services that they provide to children.
So what I'm hearing is you just don't put people out there and say, good luck.
No.
That there's actually a method, I don't want necessarily to the madness, but there's a method to making sure these children are walked through carefully or sort of taken in, and then each step, each question, each thing that happens next is thoughtfully thought out.
Absolutely. They have to have very specialized training when it comes to working with child abuse victims and their families. So that's what we want to ensure, is that we are giving that proper training, and we are following up with support groups and peer supports where they are getting regularly trained, regularly updated on the newest and best resources and technology, and just emotional and providing the best services possible for the child abuse victims and their families.
For thinking through how much effort goes into once the traumatic event has happened and then after, most people would think, well, X, Y, and Z already took place. Whatever happens next matters so much. You got them out of, the lion's den. What does research show that when handled with care, what is the outcome that can be for that child after?
Sure. I think that one of the most important things to talk about is, without child advocacy centers like Sally Kate Winters, before those kind of formed in Mississippi, when there was an outcry of abuse, a child may have to tell their story numerous times to numerous investigative agencies, such as they may make an outcry at school, tell their teacher, who then says, great, come tell the counselor, and the counselor says, let's talk to law enforcement, and law enforcement says, let's get CPS involved. So they're telling their story over and over and over again, which is re-traumatizing that child every time they have to relive that story. So with child advocacy centers here, we want that child to tell the story one time. Child advocacy centers pull all those investigative agencies together, such as the police department, such as child protection services, mental health services, medical services, and then the individuals that work at a child advocacy center, that forensic interviewer, the family advocate, to make sure that that child and that family stay at the center of the investigation. So that child's not reliving the trauma every time they tell someone. They come into a child advocacy center that is a very safe space. That's one of the most important things. We want them to know this is a place where they can come, they can feel supported, they can feel safe, and they're able to tell their story in their own words. So that's why this training is so important. So forensic interviewers are trained to do a non-leading interview with a child, to build that rapport with the child and make the child understand that this is their time to tell their story in their own words. And as they're telling their story, you've got these other disciplines who are either watching the interview or get to know about the interview, and they don't have to ask the child questions again. And from there, all those partners come together and discuss what are the next steps for this child? What are the best steps for this family? So it's a coordinated investigation that is facilitated by the Child Advocacy Centers across the state. And before they existed, the child and the family were kind of lost in this system.
Floundering.
Floundering, yes, they were floundering in the system. So
little
now,
inside joke, but we got to use it.
Yeah. But now it's just we're holding their hand through this. You know, they know that someone's in their corner, and they know that there's hope. They know that someone's caring. They know that someone's telling them the difference between youth court, chancery court, circuit court. You know, what are the next steps? You know, you think about a child going through one of the most horrific things they could ever go through, and their caregivers are trying to support them going through this, but a lot of times they don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do.
Like, as a parent, you know, not every time is the parent at fault in these sort of scenarios, right? Like,
right.
I mean, I know every case that comes up is different. It's its own unique case. There's no like cookie cutter way for necessary for child abuse or these difficult scenarios. So sometimes you do have the parent or the caregiver who's now wrestling with, you know, how did they fail their kid, or like, oh my gosh, what just happened, or also, and so I can't imagine trying to reconcile with that and be the parent and then try to keep up. It's hard to keep up with ballet schedule, much less ballet overlapping with t-ball, overlapping with everything else, and that is like very, you know, not significant compared to court dates or interviews or all of these things, while also dealing with your own sort of, oh my gosh, how do we get here, you know, how did this sort of happen thing. And so you have this you mentioned, Sally, this safe space. Who's ringing the bell? Because I think like when something is suspected, or I guess if law enforcement comes across something and recognizes that there's an issue, is it now set up in our state where automatically one of these advocacy centers, like the phone rings or is contacted, like there's a pause before to get you guys involved, or how do you guys get involved?
The way we get involved is we get referrals from law enforcement or from Child Protection Services. So if there is an outcry of abuse, then we have partnered with those investigative agencies, and with that, they know that that's when to call the multidisciplinary team into action. That's what we call it, our MDTs, our multidisciplinary teams. So just like, you know, for years, hospitals and healthcare have had multidisciplinary teams where they may bring together different professionals that are working on something. We're doing that same thing with child abuse. So we're bringing everybody together. Once they get that outcry of abuse, they're going to call us and say, hey, this is the case we've got. We need your help. We need to call the MDT together, and we need your help. And from that point, the CAC goes into action and says, okay, if this is, you know, if it meets our protocols for an abuse case that needs to come in, let's get them in here. Let's get a forensic interview. And I say that, I want to make clear that, you know, child advocacy centers like Sally Kate, it's not just about the forensic interview, because there will be children who are 0 to 3 who can come in and articulate what happened to them. There are still other services that can be provided for them. So it's not necessarily, okay, they have to be of this age to come here. It's children from 0 to 17. So we want to make sure that we're offering advocacy and we're offering resources for these children. Again, because some parents are so dumbfounded and upset and in crisis that they don't know where to turn.
And y'all are on their team. Y'all are their team captain. Y'all are the ones that are sort of help piloting them through it. It's not another person that they owe something to. It's like you get to step in and sort of take over and help them navigate all the things that have to come through. Sally, this is a tough field. It's a tough field to even talk about for a day, even though it's the good work that you're doing. So how did you get led here to do this as a career choice?
Personally, I worked in the circuit court systems for over 14 years and heard a lot of these cases firsthand. It started back during a very horrific case that I can remember, where it was a grandfather that was abusing his own grandchildren. And at that time, there was not a child advocacy center in my area. So the way that they did it was they recorded a grandfather having a phone call with his grandchild, and the things that I heard there shocked me. and it hurt me as a mother to think about that every child deserves to live a safe and healthy life. And it's our job as adults and as parents to protect those children. And don't they all deserve the best? And when a Child Advocacy Center opened in my area, I said, I want to be a part of that. And so I got involved in it, and I got to be a part of it, and I ended up being a director of a Child Advocacy Center for a long period of time. And then this came about where I got to go to work for the state chapter and help all the centers across the state. And it's a passion, and it's a wonderful thing, and we just need to bring more and more awareness to it.
And we don't have to get involved necessarily to that level. We can easily just text SuperTalk 24 to 41444 and make whatever donation we feel led to, and we'll be part of that work of helping keep kids safe. But we got more for you coming up next from Sally Kate Winters Family Services.